to the United Stand, the 2 p.m. show, and as you can see on the thumbnail, Donny van de Beek gone, could be done by the weekend to join Real Sociedad. Some news coming out on that. Sad it didn't work out with Donny, but this is where we're at and we're going to get into the discussion about it. Also, Fabrizio Romano reporting on Mason Greenwood and when it's expected for the announcement on what his future is going to be at Manchester United, and it could be a lot sooner than you think. So, first half of the show, we're going to do a little bit of news, and then in the second half of the show, I've got a little bit of an interactive kind of chat for us both to have. You can help me. I'm basically going to rank Eriksen and Hag's signings so far at the club because I've seen Sky Sports put out Eriksen and Hag's signings and how much he's paid for each one so far. This isn't including Højlund because it's not been announced yet. I'm going to rank them, go through what his signings have been, because I looked on there and I thought, wow, there's been some really good ones. There's been some who still have question marks over their head. So we're going to get into discussion and talk a little bit about that. But first things first, Donny van de Beek, is his time over at Manchester United? It looks like it is. Unfortunate for Donny because he never really got started, if I'm being honest with you. I can't really remember much of Donny over the past, I think it's 3-4 years that he's been here. It's been a long time. He came in at a time under Ollie where there wasn't really a transfer strategy. At the time, I think Ollie wanted Jack Grealish, but the club wouldn't pay for him, so we ended up with Donny van de Beek. And Ollie just never really wanted to use him. There wasn't a plan for him. He didn't suit our style of football. We thought Ten Hag coming in, maybe we'd see the best out of him, but it just looks like Ten Hag's going in a different direction with this one. So it looks like Donny is going to leave, but the news coming in, and it's coming in from the Mail, the news coming in is that Donny van de Beek has been deemed surplus to requirements and Manchester United are willing to let him go for around 25 million, and that's coming from Simon Jones. Real Sociedad are in the race for Donny van de Beek and the player wants to leave. So it does look like with Real Sociedad that they are going to make a bid for Donny van de Beek. I think it'd be a good move for him. I think Spanish football suits him probably a lot better. It's a little bit less physical, more technical, which is exactly the way Donny plays. And you know what? If we can get anywhere near 25 million for him, I think it's a decent deal for us. Obviously, it's unfortunate and you do have question marks because we're seeing Fred could potentially now be going for 15 mil. We originally bought him for 50 and, you know, I know he's older now and he's only got a year left on his deal, but that is a massive drop-off. Donny van de Beek, I think we bought for around 40 million. We'll probably end up getting 20, not 25 for him. Again, it's a big drop-off. You've got to ask yourself questions. Why can we never make money on players, really? Why can we never sell players for a decent amount of money? But Donny van de Beek, 20 million. I think he can go to Spain and have a good career. He needs to be playing. He's a lovely guy. We've interviewed him on the United Stand, but he just doesn't fit this team at the moment, I don't think. We've seen probably the best of him come out during the pre-season, but the Premier League is honestly a different kettle of fish and you've got to be physical. And I think that's the reason why out of, you know, Donny, Fred, McTominay, Donny's the one that's, not Donny, McTominay is going to be the one that's the last man standing because he's got that physicality. And even he looks like he could be out the door soon. Ten Hag is completely having an overhaul of the midfield. But welcome everyone, get in the chat, get your thoughts in the chat. You should see it on the bottom of your screen there, should Man United sell Donny van de Beek? I know I've spoken about this in the past with Donny and what he brings to Man United, what he could bring. And a lot of you guys in the chat, when I asked the question, who would you rather sell out of Donny van de Beek and McTominay? The resounding answer a lot of the time has been Scott McTominay. I mean, Scott McTominay you can probably get a bit more money for. You can probably get around 30, 35 mil for. Donny van de Beek, it looks like it's probably going to be 20, 25 mil. But you guys, a lot of the time, say McTominay. I honestly think McTominay's staying because of his physicality and his height. That's why he's the one that's kind of been obviously going to probably stay at the club, especially if you get rid of Donny and Scott. But what I'm absolutely excited for is the fact that if Donny leaves, that makes way for Amrabat to come in, and that's what we want. Amrabat said he wants United. We've agreed personal terms with Amrabat. All we need now is Donny and Fred to go and we can get Amrabat in. So that's really exciting. So to me personally, Donny van de Beek, go and have a good career in Sociedad. You'll get game time there. And let us bring in Amrabat, who is going to be a great signing for us. And he's physical, will suit the league really well. And actually is, you know, a Ten Hag signing. But on Donny van de Beek, the latest is that he wants to go and that we're negotiating with Sociedad, so highly likely it could happen by the weekend on Donny van de Beek. So that's exciting because, as I said, the sooner we get Fred and Donny gone, the quicker we can get Amrabat in. That deal will happen like that. As soon as Donny and Fred go, we can get him in straight away because all we need to do is agree a fee. The fee's around 25 to 30 million. It's pretty good. So we just need them to leave. And Fred with Galatasaray as well looks like it's heating up a little bit. The fees we're getting for these players, again, It's disappointing, but we just really need to get them out of the club now and make room for people that are actually going to take part in the season and are going to benefit us over the course of the season. But Calvin says Donny is our Amrabat. Sam Samantha says sell Martial. He's been lazy and promising for 600 years. As I've said on previous shows, no one, I think I said it on the Twitter space last night, no one's going near Anthony Martial for 250 grand a week with his injury record. No one is. And Martial's not going to downgrade his pay bracket. So he's staying at Manchester United whether we like it or not. And plus, when it comes to Martial, I actually still think if he can stay fit, he's definitely not a bad option to have off the bench. 250 grand's ridiculous, but there is a play there. He just can't stay fit, unfortunately. Railcar Brown says, hi Beth, Ten Hag has realised that the Premier League is very physical and Donny is not. Exactly. Do you know what? What Donny van de Beek fell unfortunately victim to is he came into Man United at a time where there was no transfer strategy. I don't think Ollie wanted him, to be honest with you. I really don't. So he got bought as a panic buy. He's a system type player. He played the Ajax way of football. He's technical. He gives 1-2s. And you could see actually every time he came on the pitch, he was making runs and he was trying to do these patterns of play that Man United just, the other players weren't on board with, and he often got lost in that. Sometimes you wouldn't see Donny for, 20 minutes in a game because he's making these runs, good runs as well, but our players just weren't finding him. And it's not an excuse because, when you come into Man United as a player, if you're good enough, you should be able to get into that team. Like, look at Bruno Fernandes came in, he just absolutely transformed Manchester United. And, you've never looked back. But Donny van de Beek very much is a system type player. I feel like if he would have gone into like a fully conducted team that knew exactly what they were doing, for example, the likes of Manchester City, he could have probably slotted in and actually done a good job. I think technically he's a good player. He's just not physical enough for the Premier League, and I think he works as like a system luxury type player, if I'm being honest with you, which we're not kind of going in that direction with Ten Hag at the moment. We're trying to work on physical transitions, and obviously we want to keep possession, but the Premier League, the physicality is like at the top level, so you've got to be able to adapt to that, and Donny just never has been able to, unfortunately. Dictator Bridge is in the house, well, in his bedroom. I saw Goldbridge's video this morning. If he's in a hotel, it looks like something you'd see off a horror film, doesn't it? When you're staying overnight and you're off a horror film. I hope he's all right, but it didn't, not saying anything, but it just didn't look like my cup of tea when it comes to a hotel room. He's been locked in. Why is he still in there? Yes, the whole midfield needs a clear out, exactly. But that's the update on Donny van de Beek. It does look like he's going to be heading to Real Sociedad. I'm just happy we've got a club interested in signing him, if I'm being honest with you, because it hasn't been the greatest time for him at Man United. And we can close that chapter. Ricky will be gutted, one of his favourite players going out the door. But, he'll be buzzing because it looks like Evans might be getting a one-year deal. So, 2 step forwards, 1 step back a little bit. But no, Donny van de Beek looks like he's going. But someone's future who is kind of under question at the moment on whether he will stay at Manchester United or whether he will be leaving is obviously Mason Greenwood, who's been out of the team now for, I think, a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in February since the incident obviously happened that led him to being completely, shut out of Manchester United. But it's coming from Fabrizio Romano that an announcement on Mason Greenwood's future is now a matter of days, or even in the next hours. It all depends on Manchester United. Ten Hag will be involved in the technical decision whether United want to keep, loan or sell him. This is really interesting because if you look at the likes of, other outlets that have been saying that Ten Hag's going to have no decision in this whatsoever, it's purely down to the club. Romano's actually coming out and saying Ten Hag is going to have a decision in this. Obviously, he'll have input. I don't think he'll have an input necessarily whether he stays or whether he goes. I think what his input will be is if the club decision is to keep Mason Greenwood, Ten Hag's input would be, I want to keep him here for the season and involve him in the squad, or I want to send him out on loan. I don't want him to be around the first team. We don't need that in the squad right now. That's where Ten Hag will come into things. And obviously, maybe even if they decide, he can stay, Ten Hag might say, I do want to sell Greenwood, actually. That'll kind of where Ten Hag comes into things. He won't be the one that makes the decision on whether, he's allowed to play for Man United again. But he'll definitely be involved in what sort of part he's going to play in Manchester United in the future. It's going to be a really, really interesting decision, to say the least. I know there's such a split opinion on this. I've seen Mark talk about it. I saw him tweet about it. I've seen so many different comments on it. Obviously, there is some people that are just absolutely disgusting when they talk about this topic. But I can understand different opinions coming from different people if you put it in a respectful way. And that's the way we want to roll, with respectfulness. Because on this channel, we've talked about Greenwood, but we always do it in a respectful way and bring the news. With Mason Greenwood, if he did come back and the decision was, you know, he's going to come back to Manchester United, the only way forward that I can see is possible for him at this moment in time is going out on loan. Now, we've heard, you know, because of his new baby and everything, he wouldn't really want to go out on loan, but at this point in time, I don't think he really has much of a decision. So with Greenwood, if he does go on loan, at least it takes all of the kind of, I don't know, all the opinions away from Man United. They'll still be on us, but the limelight is completely off him. You know, if he starts playing at Manchester United at Old Trafford, going to away games, and he's getting minutes, the abuse and the media and the limelight, everything will be put onto that decision. Everything will be put onto Mason Greenwood and onto the club. You know, other players can have a great performance. Again, it'll just be all focused around the abuse that Mason Greenwood's received, because it will happen. Of course it will happen. So with Greenwood, I just don't see him being able to ease back into the squad without anyone really kind of noticing this season. I think he would have to go on loan for that to happen. That's just my opinion. Other people will have their own thoughts on this, but it's just, do Man United really need that this season? Ten Hag's trying to build. He's trying to create something. What we don't need after every single game is, oh, this happened with Mason Greenwood today. This on Mason Greenwood. We don't need it being that. We need it focusing on the team and winning trophies. I just think it's another thing that we don't need. United Stan says, I'm filming a Højlund reveal video today. We're basically lying in sun loungers and I say hotter than the sun. Is that where you are? Is that where the hotel is? You know what? You would have thought Højlund, you know, with his big money move to Man United, could have put Goldbridge up in a better hotel. You know, something a little bit more jazzy. 2 months in, King Mo says, so Beth, you really think Eriksen is more physical than Donny? Yeah, you know what, that's a good chat. That is a good chat because you've put me on the spot there. I don't think Eriksen is necessarily that physical, no. But he can work in the Premier League and he's not necessarily relying on the patterns of play that Donny is. Like, you don't see Donny getting hold of the ball and making, you know, an excellent cross the pitch pass to a player. You don't see that from Donny. He's all about the 1-2s, he's all about the runs in behind. Eriksen makes some good runs, but that's not really his style. What Eriksen does is he gets the ball and he dictates the play with the ball and puts himself in some really good positions. So they are very much different types of players, and Eriksen is better, to be honest with you, like he is. He's proved more in a Man United shirt. Matthew James Whelan says, got the first child arriving September 1st. First of spring here in New Zealand. Start of new life. Sorry for the left field comment. Matthew, congratulations to you and your wife on your first child. I don't know if it is your wife. I just assumed. Whoever you are having your first child with, your partner, congratulations. And yeah, I wish you all the best. Matt Thrower says, the thing is with Donny, I think he could be ahead of a lot more players than he is. I think we all do, but the reality is he is sixth choice for himself. He deserves to be allowed to leave. And don't get me wrong on this. Like, I don't think Eriksen is the future of Man United, but who would you rather have in your team? Who's proven more at the Premier League level? It is Christian Eriksen at this moment in time. But yeah, that's the latest on Donny van de Beek and the latest on Greenwood as well. Whatever decision's made with Greenwood, I just hope it ends up working out for everyone, if I'm being honest with you. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think a loan's the best option, but I'm not the one making the decision in this. That's if he did stay. I think the loan's the best option. I'm not saying he should stay. I'm saying if he did, I would imagine it would have to be on loan. But let's get into the rest of the show. I said it was going to be interactive, and that's exactly what it's going to be. Ten Hag signings, we're going to rank them. Let me get them up here, because the fee does come into this. When you look at the fee of what these signings have been, you have to take it into account. Like 86 million, I think it was for Antony, is a good player, but you know, for that fee, where's it going to be on the ranking scale? So everyone can get their decisions in the chat as well, and get any other comments you want to get in as well. But you've got it up on screen there, Manchester United's signings under Erik Ten Hag. So you've got Antony from Ajax at £86 million. That was a big one. That was a huge amount of money. We all know it shouldn't have been that. We all know we should have bought him earlier on in the window. That was Man United's fault, screwing that one up. It wasn't Erik Ten Hag, but he did end up coming in for 86 mil. Casemiro from Real Madrid, 70 mil. Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, 56.7 million. Christian Eriksen on a free. Tyrell Malacia at 14.7 mil. Andre Onana for 47.2 million. And Mason Mount for 60 million. That's where we're at so far, with a grand total spend of 334.6 million. Obviously, we know Højlund's on the way, and despite what the media keeps trying to twist, the upfront fee for Højlund is around 62 million pounds. The upfront fee. So it's not, the 85 million that we keep getting told. It's around 62 million with the performance-related add-ons. But we're going to rank them from 1 to 7. So I'm going to go from 7th spot, and I've done my rankings. And you can say if you agree with me or not on this one. So we'll just get a poll saying, do you agree with Beth? Yes or no? So my 7th spot, I've gone with Tyrell Malacia. And the reason I've gone with Tyrell Malacia at 7th is just because he's not really a first teamer. And I like him, and I think the deal we got for him, and by the way, I think all Erik Ten Hag signings have been good, but I think with Tyrell Malacia, the fee we actually paid for him was great, but there's a lot more players on this list that I think have had more of an impact at Manchester United. With Malacia, obviously you can fill in at left back. If Luke Shaw's playing centre back, that's a great plus, and it was a great fee for him, but we just don't see him in and around the first team often enough for me to put him higher up on this list. But we'll get a poll going just now. Do you agree on me for Tyrell Malacia in 7th spot? Let's have a look. No, Beth, because Malacia cost us nothing. I know I said the fee comes into this, but this is my personal choice, and that's what I'm going with. I can't see what the poll's saying. I need to adjust my screen on here for me to be able to see it. Do we agree? I'm going to agree with myself. Ooh, it's a close one on this one. It's a close one. 53% yes, 47% no. Who would you have 7th in? If you don't agree with me, who would you have 7th in this list? I want to see what the people say. And Kenny says, without Malacia, we would have struggled to beat Liverpool, Arsenal, City at home. Many forget how he performed in them games defensively. Yeah, he was brilliant. I've said no one's a bad signing on this list. This is just what I think I'm going for in the future. Everyone putting Antony on there. Antony's going 7th. Wow. Do you know what? I did have Antony at 7th, but I changed it last minute, and I'm not backtracking because I stick with my point at Malacia. It's 7th. I did have Antony there, but with Antony, I'm looking for the future. I'm looking at how he affects our games. In a lot of games last season, when he came off the pitch, Manchester United folded in a lot of the big games as well. So, anyway, I've put Malacia at 7th. In 6th spot is... That sounded a bit weird, didn't it? My hand clapping. But in 6th spot, I've gone with... It's actually not Antony. I did end up putting him a bit higher up. I've gone with Christian Eriksen at 6th. Maybe I could have swapped this for Antony in, thinking about it, because obviously Antony was 86 million. But I've gone with Eriksen. And the reason I've gone with Eriksen, if you would have asked me this at the start of the season, a few months in, I would have had Eriksen right at the top. But I think we all can admit to ourselves, Eriksen has dropped off a little bit. Eriksen came in and he did transform the midfield massively, and he helped us a lot. When he was injured, we noticed it. We did. But with Eriksen, he's being phased into a squad player, I feel like, with Mason Mount coming in. And if you can be phased into a squad player, maybe you're not good enough to be in the first team, which is the reason I've put him at 6th. But on a free transfer, I did think it was a great deal. Do you agree? I have a feeling a lot of people are going to say no on this one. I'm going to agree with myself. I'll click yes. 44% yes, 56% no. I think you guys would have wanted me to put Antony there. But who's going to be starting for Man United next season? Is Eriksen going to be in the starting 11? Probably not. Is Antony going to be in the starting 11? He is. Erik Ten Hag massively backs him, which is why I put Eriksen there. But in 5th spot, I've gone with Antony. Antony is in 5th. It's £86 million. Yes, it was a lot of money, but I don't like to hold a price tag over a player's head. I'm one of them people, and there's such a divide on Antony at the moment where I think Antony is going to really come to life this season. I think with a striker in, he's going to thrive a lot more. People forget at Ajax how much he thrived with having Sebastian Haller there, and he actually did used to look for him on crosses. He did put more crosses into the box when he did have Haller there, especially towards the back post. And I've actually filmed a little video on Højlund that explains this, but it might be coming out, it might not. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Antony, I think he's going to come to life. I expect him to get 15 goals next season. I know that's a big ask, but I really do. Erik Ten Hag backs him. Defensively, I think he's great. He just needs some more help on that right-hand side. And he needs to cut things out of his game that hold him back. But I really do like him. He's got that mentality that I like as well. Do you agree with that? 48% no, 52% yes. It's very 50-50 on this, which is kind of what you can expect. Oliver Hunt says it'll be interesting to see what Eriksen does this season. Exactly, especially because Mason Mount, realistically, is kind of taking his place. But let me know, who do you think, this is where it gets interesting, who do you think I've put in 4th place on this one? So we've done Malacia at 7th, Eriksen at 6th, Antony at 5th. Who do you think I've put in at 4th? I want to kind of see what your responses is. Let's see, coming in, Mount. Better not to be Mounts. Even if we paid 40 mil for Antony, he still doesn't have the right foot or put crosses into the box. You know, there's inverted wingers that can work very well. Mahrez has worked really well. You know, Salah works really well. I'm not comparing Antony to these players. He's nowhere near them players at the moment. But inverted wingers can work. And I think Antony does have the potential to. I've not put the Butcher at 4th place. Come on now. Come on now. You think I've put the Butcher at 4th place? I've not. At 4th place, I have put Mason Mount. A lot of you are correct on that one. Do you agree with that? Let's have a look and see. Mason Mount, the reason he's gone at 4th is because I think he's a good signing. I think for the money, 60 million, despite what a lot of people have said, 24 years old, prime years ahead of him, England international, won a Champions League, 2 Players of the Year for Chelsea. I think it's a good deal. We've not seen the best of him in pre-season, but I don't really take pre-season too much into account. But what we do know is that Ten Hag has a big plan for this player. He's technically good, but he's more physical than Eriksen. He's going to run for you. He's going to track back. I really like him. So he's gone at 4th place for that reason, and I think he's going to have a big impact on our team. I think he's going to be the first choice midfielder with Eriksen and Casemiro, apart from maybe in the games where we need a little bit more defensive stability, in which I would expect Amrabat to come in. And it'll be interesting, this list, once I've seen Højlund and Amrabat and seen the fees and everything that we've got for them and how they're going to affect this team, how they would affect this list. But so far, honestly, a good transfer window for Ten Hag. Do you agree with me on Mount for 4th? This is one, I've got a better response on this one. 67% of you say yes. So I'm glad I'm getting the vote of confidence from you guys as I'm going further up the list. Rajesh Sharma says, love your passion on the channel. Can you host the show more frequently, please? Well, as Mark said earlier on with his Modbridge comments, more game time, you get used to it. You start to adapt. That's hopefully what's going to happen. So more game time, hopefully the better it'll get. But let's see what you guys would say on this. Bruno should never play on the left. Would love Ricky to host the show. I have Ricky back on Friday, Beth and Ricky show Friday. Got a lot of stuff we need to talk about. He's been throwing out some wild comments on the DMs while the transfer window has been going and while pre-season's going. He's not been on the show since the end of the season. Ricky's back at Friday. Make sure you stay tuned. But, so that was Mount at 4th, and I think I explained why he has to be 4th for me. In 3rd spot, you guys, I don't think you're going to be happy with me. I really don't think you're going to be happy with me at 3rd spot. But in 3rd spot, I'm sticking to my guns as I always do. I'm going with Casemiro for 3rd spot. Bomb dropped. Everyone, I'm preparing for the comments. The reason I've gone with Casemiro for 3rd spot is, don't get me wrong, I think Casemiro has absolutely transformed Man United. But what I've got to say is the top three that I've gone on this list are all going to be, you know, game-changing signings for us in the future. But what I had to look at was age and how long we're going to get them for. It's literally pulling hairs between these top 3. I love Casemiro and I think he was a game-changing signing. I think he's brilliant. But it was pulling hairs, and I had to look at age. When you look at Onana and Martinez's age, you probably get more from them. And that is literally all I could pull from it. And the transfer fee, it was 70 million. And at the time, it was obviously 70 million for 30 years old. It's a lot of money. But I still think he's an absolutely unbelievable signing. That's the only thing I had to judge it on, was fee and age, because I think they're all brilliant. Casemiro is overpriced for an old player. I agree with Beth. Exactly. It was just the price part. I still think he's brilliant. Let's see this poll. God, you're all going to disagree with me, aren't you? Yep, 62% no. Interestingly enough, if you disagree, and that's absolutely fine. That's what this channel's about. It's about the debate. I can give my opinion. You can give yours back to me. You guys might be right at times. I might be right at times. That's what it's about. Let's get in the conversation. But in the comments, who would you have had who would you have had at third if you disagree? Because obviously we've got Martinez and Onana left. Interesting who I'm going to put in number 1 spot, but who would you have had at third is what I'd be interested in. A lot of people going with Onana, and I can see it. I just think you guys know how much I think the keeper position is important and how much I think it's going to change the way we play. We've already seen it in pre-season, how good it can be if we start working it right. That's why I've put Onana in second spot. Onana is second, which obviously means Lisandro Martinez, for me, is top spot on this ranking list. So the reason I've put Onana in second is because, again, I've said it so many times, I think he's going to be an absolute game-changing signing for us. The passes he can do, his distribution is brilliant. The way he commands his box. I mean, everyone's seen the clip of him, having a go at Maguire, rightly so. But all other clips from his time at Inter Milan have come to life. He wants to win everything. That mentality at the back is what we need. And I just think it's going to enable Erik Ten Hag to play that football, that quick style of possession-based football that he wants to play in the transition. You've got Onana, you've got the ball coming out of the box to the final third within a few seconds sometimes, within minutes. Whereas, under different circumstances, when you have a keeper there that can't, play them passes, the build-up takes a lot longer, / you can lose the ball in possession close to your own third. You've got Onana, you're getting up the pitch a lot quicker. So that's the reason I've put Onana there as second. It might change as the season goes on. Obviously, it's very early doors, but I'm very happy with that signing. And the reason I've put Lisandro Martinez in first, the Butcher, is because, honestly, I can't fault this signing. There's not a single thing about this signing. And I can't really fault Onana, and I can't fault Casemiro either. I can't fault, Mount, he's still under question. But a lot of Ten Hag signings, I think, have been very good. But Lisandro Martinez, literally, was a breath of fresh air, an absolute breath of fresh air, and he just injected so much, positivity into Manchester United. First of all, he's technically brilliant. Second of all, he's so important and crucial for the way that Erik Ten Hag wants to play football. He's a massive cog in that back line for Erik Ten Hag and the way he wants to play. Third of all, 24 years old we bought him at. He's got a huge future ahead of him at Manchester United. He's got passion. He plays for the badge. I think he's a future captain for Man United. I absolutely love him. And for me, that signing was the start of a lot of the fan base falling back in love with, the players at Manchester United and Manchester United. We've always loved United, but there was a time where it did feel like there was a little bit of a disconnect with the players. And Martinez, along with, Ten Hag and other signings, but he was a big role in that, of bringing it back. And he's a fan favourite for a reason. I just absolutely love him, to be honest with you. There we go, the poll in the chat there. 87% say yes. Who's the 13% that's saying no? Because Lisandro Martinez is, for me, just honestly one of the best centre-backs in the league. Definitely one of the best ball-playing centre-backs. I've seen rival fans saying he's overrated. He's not overrated, he's brilliant. I really like him. Again, another big season for Lisandro Martinez incoming. But yeah, gives his all, puts his body on the line. Man United in his blood, says PLV2. That's exactly what we want. Harry Permain says Højlund for 64 or Havertz for 65. Who's better? Who's better? Sorry, it took me a while then, because it was a question where why are we asking me that? Like, thank you for the super chat, but it's obvious. Højlund for sure is better. And I hope someone doesn't clip that up at the end of the season, but Højlund for sure is better. Havertz, you know what you're getting with Havertz, and it's a player, even though I think he can be good, a player that doesn't really have a position to play him in. He's what's that term you use? A jack of all trades, a master at none. That is what I would describe Havertz as. He can do a lot of things, but he's not really got a set position that he's brilliant at, to be honest with you. And I don't think he's going to improve Arsenal that much. Højlund, on the other hand, when you're talking about in the context of improving a team, yeah, it's basically potential right now, and that's what we're working with, potential. But if he works out in Man United as a striker, he's massive for Man United, who've been missing it for so long. But yeah, everyone, that is the end of the show. So the rankings as it goes is, let me get my list up, I might forget. Malacia, Eriksen, Antony, Mount, Casemiro, Onana, Martinez. That might change as the season goes on. It'll be really interesting to see how Højlund and Amrabat fit into this. As we know, we've had the Højlund Here We Go. The announcement we expect probably tomorrow, I think, but we'll have to wait and see. It might be tonight. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, Højlund's going to be a Man United player. And also, as soon as Donny makes his way to Sociedad, it looks like it could happen soon, as we said at the start of the show, and Fred makes his move to Galatasaray, it's looking most likely, we can get another midfielder in Amrabat and see how he ranks in this list and how he affects our team this season. If you didn't watch Amrabat in his game with Fiorentina yesterday, I saw a few snippets of that. Again, a brilliant performance. I'm really excited. I'm excited for the start of the season. But thank you everyone for tuning into the show and getting involved with the chat. I love shows like this where we can make it interactive, we can get your opinions. And I knew that Casemiro at third was going to throw a bit of controversy in there, but it's all about the debate. So thank you everyone for getting involved. I hope we get the Højlund announcement soon. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you for Modbridge as well for modding. Thank you for the producer for producing the show. Have a lovely rest of your day and we'll see you on the next one. Make sure you like on the way out. Cheers everyone.